99.
Give us some ventilation.
Yeah, just some air moving.
Getting a little warm, is it?
All right,
Stuffy.
it's 1:00.
Okay.
I can keep the time. Thank you.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock. I'm going to call the May 6th Board of Commission meeting to order. Today, we're going to have the prayer by Commissioner Heberling, followed by the pledge by Commissioner Ballard.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful spring day. We thank you for the freedoms that we come and meet together as the Board of Commissioners. We just pray, Lord, as we go through our agenda today, that you would guide and direct us to make the right decisions. And we thank you for all that you've blessed us with. We give you the honor and the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Leslie, roll call, please.
District 1 Chairman John Block,
Present.
District 2 Commissioner Roger Ballard, District 3 Commissioner Gary Heberling,
Here.
District 4 Commissioner Bill Sarkella,
Present.
District 5 Commissioner Christine Lee,
Present.
District 6 Commissioner Evans Ehart is absent, District 7 Commissioner John Moody.
Here.
Thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Evans did let me know he wouldn't be here today. He had a death in the family with a funeral, and we'll hope to see him at our next meeting in 2 weeks. With that said, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented today.
I make that motion.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Lee, support from Commissioner Moody to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve our meeting minutes from April 15th.
I'll make that motion to approve our meeting minutes from April 15th.
I have a motion from Commissioner Heberling, support from Commissioner Ballard to adopt our meeting minutes as presented from April 15th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. You will receive your correspondence from Jody through email the other day. We're going to move into introductions. And first up, we have Jeff Ryan, who is the Sanic Transportation Executive Director. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you.
You step up to the podium, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been hired as the new Director at Sanic Transportation. I'm formerly from Sandusky. I've lived here for 20 years, grew up in Marlatt. So I've lived in the area my whole life.
Very good. Well, we'll look forward to working with you as our relationship interacts with Sand Lake Transportation.
Definitely. Yep. We're here to do the best we can for the community at large.
Very good. Anybody have any questions for Jeff?
No, I've drilled them already.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sit on the board for transportation.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, congratulations.
Look forward to working with you.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll be much better than that last guy, so we're.
Oh, I've been saying that.
Yep. My door's always open, but here to answer any questions and anything I can do to help.
Good. Very good. We appreciate you being here
Thank
today, Jeff.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Next up in introductions today, we have Vince McAuliffe, our new Sand Lake County Parks Director. Vince, welcome.
Good afternoon. And I want to thank Sand Lake County for having the faith in me and 30 years of Parks and Recreation experience, knowledge, all that good stuff. I was basically raised in Sand Lake County and had two sets of grandparents, one from Croswell, the other one from Lexington, and bought a house in Lexington about 3 years ago. And after that 30 years of learning the trade, I wanted to bring it back where I was raised. As you can tell by the gray hair, I've been doing it a while, and so I want to give something back to the county, and looking forward to and appreciate the opportunity to be hired as the Parks and Recreation Director.
A whole brand new position in the county.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it is a new position and I'm looking forward to it. In particular, as chairman of the parks, you're gonna get a lot of workload.
I know.
It might seem easy right now, but you know what you're not for. We actually talked to Vince back in 21. We had an opening at Evergreen Park for a manager. Things just didn't quite work out at the time, but he and I have been in touch through the years. And we finally got a few tweaks in on this new park director position, and we're able to meet in the middle, kind of, and
Exactly.
looking forward, he's a great guy to have come in and get this position established. And it'll probably take a few years, but
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, I see the job description changing over the years and
Right.
looking forward to working with you.
Yeah,
So
definitely,
welcome.
definitely. And the parks, as I had 3 weeks to explore them, I really feel that they're in a good place right now and financially doing well. And I want to keep that going. I don't want to change a lot of things. I want to be a listener and seeing things as they are, and then see what we can do to add things as we go. I'm excited about it, being able to bring something back to the community, basically, that I was raised. So look forward to it.
And I'm always available.
Yes.
You might have to try several times because my phone is usually in my tour pack on the bike.
Right.
So.
Very good. Anybody have any questions for Vince? Vince, we appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Okay, that's going to conclude introductions. We're going to move into commissioner reports, and we are going to start with Commissioner Ballard.
Last night I attended the City of Marlette meeting. We didn't have a quorum. We did have a little bit of discussion, or they did, on some potential grant possibilities and stuff, but of course they couldn't conduct any business. And that's it for me.
Good. Thank you, Roger. Gary?
Last night I attended the Sandusky City Council meeting and found out the new bathroom on Diamond Trail is now open. And the paperwork's also been submitted for animal control to the title company across the road here. A couple councilmen at the meeting asked to bring Dan's Construction into the next meeting, that city council meeting, to get an answer why the streetlights have not been fixed since the construction last fall. And they also covered cemetery increases and the adoption of the code that encompasses that increase. They also talked about non-union wages, and an RFP has been put out there for the need of a attorney retainment. And they also handed out in the council agenda the 2025 Lawn Chair Music Chairs series coming up this summer. Tonight I have Watertown Township meeting, also the County Boards meeting. Tomorrow night I have Moore Township in my report.
Good. Thank you, Gary. Bill?
Start with Port Sanilac. I'm pleased to announce that they were approved for phase 1 through Eagle for the harbor improvements. I wrote a letter of support for that, and so Annie's kept me informed on what's going on with that. So that's going to be a great project for them moving forward. They have signed their CFA agreement in regards to the fire department, fire authority. They have a new trustee that was appointed, and they approved their antique boat and vintage show for August 15th and 16th. Carsonville, the water tower is moving forward, and there was a lot of discussion on the detour and the roads there as well. And then Applegate last night, except some lawn mowing bibs, had a few fire calls. They discussed some sidewalk repair, and looking forward to getting that building, the house there demolished. They're probably going to have a weenie roast or something when they get that done, because it's been about 7-year process to get that taken care of. And lastly, they had, two things. They had a playscape donated. Somebody has a connection with a company that was taking out a playscape at a school that was over by Flint that was changing to preschool. So they needed age appropriate equipment. And apparently this playscape that was there was only about 5 years old. So still under warranty even. And this company is going to donate it to Applegate, and they're going to have to pay for the cement and the wood chips and stuff to put this in. So that they hopefully I have that done this summer. And it's like a $50,000 plus playscape. So they're getting that theoretically for free. So awesome donation. And then the pancake breakfast that the fire department does this last Sunday morning served 704 people. So a lot of folks turning out for that to support them. That's all I have.
Excellent report. Thank you, Bill. Christine?
I had a meeting with, Elk Township. The zoning planning commission are talking about letting people have shipping containers, 1 for the home, 2 for the farms. They're gonna have to be on concrete pad, neutral color, meet setbacks, no railroad cars, have vents if it's for chemicals. An attorney is working on that. They're gonna have their books sell at the library the first week in June. Fire department 2 passed the practical and they're waiting on their written exam. They're gonna get their water for the firemen, the bottled water from Budweiser. They're buying 4 fire extinguishers, 2 CO2s and 2 regulars. And one of the firemen delivered a baby, so they're teasing him that he's gonna have child support for the child that reaches the age. They changed their phone company and they have 2 phone lines and 1 fax line. And they're looking at getting a new router. They talked about brush spray, they talked about gravel patching and blight, and the jail crew helped clean their cemetery. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Christine. I myself had some phone conversations with Minden Township Supervisor Terry O'Connor. Michael Sage from DTE has been reaching out in my area at least, and I think he's aiming to reach out to everybody in the county about the improvements that DTE is looking to do to their power infrastructure throughout the county. And the conversation revolved around Michael's desire to get the township supervisors in a meeting, which is where Terry sent him my way. Because in Sanilac County, we don't have any type of an association that the supervisors are part of. So there's no like meeting where they're getting together regularly. And I didn't really see an opportunity to get all the supervisors in a meeting. So in that discussion, Michael proposed the idea of coming to the Board of Commissioners to give his presentation and inviting township supervisors to simply attend that meeting so they'd have an opportunity to review that information. So that's something that we may potentially see in the future. I did let Michael know that we have limited meeting space, and if he did somehow get every township supervisor to attend, we might run out of room. But as that progresses, I'll work with him on that and I'll keep the board updated as that comes together. Something else that I'm sure many of you on this board and in the room have been watching closely at the state level is our state representative, Greg Alexander, had legislation to repeal the parts of Public Act 233 that limited local control of wind and solar siting. That moved out of committee and then it went to a full House floor vote where it was passed. I don't think anybody has any illusions that the Senate or the governor are going to take that issue up. But Speaker of the House, Matt Hall, made it very clear that he intends to have that legislation sitting and waiting to be utilized if and when there's a changeover at the midterms at the state level. We obviously have no control over that and no way to know what will or won't happen. But that's been a hot button issue here in Sanilac County. And I think it's important that everybody follow that and know what is going on. So that's all I have for a commissioner report. John?
On the 17th at 6 o'clock, I went to the Fremont Township Planning Commission meeting. They worked on their battery storage facility ordinance, and they voted to move forward and start working on their data storage and Bitcoin center ordinance, which I'm not sure what that actually is. A Bitcoin storage unit.
Yeah.
And then on the same night, had the regular board meeting for Fremont Township. They're working on some stuff with the building, maybe looking at getting a quote to replace or repair their roof. Their zoning, they had 1 permit for the month, which was a pole barn, and they reappointed 3 people to the Planning Commission and 1 person to the Board of Appeals.
Okay, thank you, John. Appreciate everyone's commissioner reports. Nathan, your administrator report, please.
Yes, thank you. So first thing I wanted to mention, last Thursday, I was able to attend the economic development put on an event in Marlette at the Jocularity Coffee House, which is a neat facility that is, it's a revamped factory over there. And they turned into it's beautiful inside coffee house. And there was about, I would say there was about 20 to 25 people in attendance, business folks in attendance, and they had presenters from the MEDC, Great Lakes Bay Manufacturing, Michigan Works, Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, and the Small Business Association. And there was good information for the business owners on grant opportunities through those organizations, ways to navigate starting a business, people to reach out to when starting a business, or as any of these businesses are maybe struggling, or upgrades or updates, some potential, again, grant dollars, people to connect with to help assess your business and kind of what direction you should go. So I think that was a positive right here in Marlette. Friday was able to attend Career Day at Sandusky High School. Done that the last couple of years, talked to you guys about it. I think it's a great event they do. Gets our local youth acclimated with approaching potential businesses who they could seek employment with and how to talk to people when they're looking for employment opportunities. There was not only Sandusky there, they brought over Marlette, Deckerville, and Carsonville, Port Sand Lake schools. So there was 4 schools that took part in that. And we had the sheriff's office, the court, juvenile probation were all in attendance as well. So that was positive. The animal control project, Gary noted, continues to move forward from a paperwork aspect. The paperwork's over at the title company. Dave Faber had worked with me. He had taken that paperwork over. We had documents and they're processing everything as we speak. So hopefully that'll be done soon. And as soon as Gary noted, Dan's is still in town doing some work. As soon as that gets done and then Dan's is out of that property, then the real work can begin, I guess. So that's where we're at on that project. And I had some correspondence with Mike Homier through Foster and Swift. We do have the pending litigation, I guess you'll say, where they're looking at the rules of the Public Service Commission. I just wanted an update as to where that was at. And right now he said oral arguments are waiting to be scheduled before the Court of Appeals. So that's just kind of in holding right now, waiting for that aspect. Some good news, glass recycling will be available for residents in the next week or so. We did get the roll-off container was dropped off, and we are just working to release the appropriate information. So when people go down there, they know what is acceptable and what isn't. So we're going to get that all released. We're going to get some signage out there so people know accepted items are things like glass food and beverage, drinking vessels, candle jars, things that they're not going to accept would be coffee mugs, porcelain, TVs, mirrors, Pyrex, things like that. So I talked to Joanne actually just today, Joanne by our recycling coordinator, and I said, I think it would be good to get specific signage out there so people know when they come on site. And then we'll also get some information out. I'll talk to Eric. We'll get some information in the paper, and she might go on the radio with local radio station just to get that information out. But I think it'll be a very positive thing for our local residents. So last thing I wanted to mention was went out and met with Don Johnston at the airport. A lot of work being done at the airport. Planes, helicopters being constructed out there. Actually a new building being put up that's going to have living quarters above it. So when people come in, they can utilize that. I encourage any of you guys, or if that's something you'd ever want set up. I know Don talked about coming in, but it's neat to go out there and see all the work being done, all the employees, the number of planes and helicopters and things being constructed out there. I was taken aback. It had been probably 2 years since I had been out there, and to see 10 or 12 staff people out there working on planes, it's pretty amazing the work they're doing out there. So
It's been a good improvement too for the economy locally. We have a local painter that's painting those planes out there now. And so it's created some opportunities for people.
yeah.
When you get out and you walk in that hangar, you wouldn't believe something like that would exist, but it does.
No, and you see all these little boxes on the floor, and it's like this little kit that comes together, and then it becomes this, plane, and they do it all right on site there. It's pretty amazing to see. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Nathan? Seeing none, Nathan, thank you for your report. At this time, I'm going to call for public comments pertaining to the agenda. Are there any public comments pertaining to the agenda today? Seeing none, we're going to move on. We are going to move into presentations, and first up, we have the Michigan Association of Counties Executive Director, Steve Curry. Steve, welcome.
Thank you, Chair, for having me. Should I move this over a little bit?
Wherever you're most, if you want to move over just a little bit, that's fine.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, my name's Steve Curry. I'm the Executive Director of MAC. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. I do have some slides to run through. Feel free to interrupt me as we're going through if you want to ask questions, or wait till the end. Right in the beginning here, you can go ahead to the first slide. I'd like to give a little background on MAC and what we're known for. Obviously, the advocacy side is what we're most known for. We definitely look at that as a team effort. So hopefully we're arming you with good information that we're speaking about in Lansing that you can speak to your locally elected officials about. Education, we provide a variety of educational tools throughout the year. I'll talk a little bit about the 2 conferences we have. We have webinars that are updated throughout the year. We just had our new county commissioners school last fall. We put together in cooperation with MSU Extension and services. We have a variety of services we offer through the association as well. You can go ahead to the next slide. Our board is made up of 16 county commissioners. Our elections are typically handled at our annual conference. We will have elections at this year's conference, and you'll hear more about that as we get closer to the conference. 2 seats from each of the 6 regions represent our board. They meet at least 4 times a year, mostly at our conferences, and then 2 other meetings. You can go ahead to the next slide. This is our current MAC leadership. Melissa Daub is the MAC president from Wayne County. Antoinette Wallace, first vice president from Macomb. Brian Koch, second vice president from Newaygo, and Stan Ponstein is the immediate past president from Kent County. You can go to the next slide. So our 2 conferences, we just had our legislative conference at the end of April. That's always in Lansing. That stays in Lansing every year. We'll have our annual conference coming up the end of September at Grand Traverse Resort, September 30th through October 2nd. And I mentioned our elections will be handled there. So hopefully you folks can attend that. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about 2024 as we're moving into this next legislative session. Some of the items we want to highlight, $30 million increase to county revenue sharing, and I'll talk a little bit about that in this year's budget as well. Trial court funding fee was extended through 2026. And I think I have a slide to talk a little bit about where that ends up now as we move into the next legislative session. Worked with them, MDHHS on that 1115 reentry waiver that has to do with inmates and those that are charged. They're not convicted, they're charged, and they're in your county jail, and the fact that they lose any sort of government funded healthcare. What's that mean for you? That if they were to have a medical emergency while incarcerated in your jail, you guys would pay that fee. This waiver, which I think there's 4 or 5 states that have been granted the federal waiver, would allow for coverage still, so that would not fall on the back of the county to pay for those costs. The PPT exemption reimbursement, this came about in 2021. There was an increase in the minimum for personal property tax exemption that cost locals about $75 million statewide. We got that put back in to the budget, so counties are now and local units government are being reimbursed for that. And then some changes to lake level bills in Senate Bill 662. You can go ahead to the next slide. Some of the other victories we had, minimum staffing being subject to collective bargaining. Anytime something goes to collective bargaining, it becomes more expensive for counties, so we were opposed to that. Statewide sanitary code, there was a push to go to a full statewide sanitary code. That didn't go anywhere. And public funded health insurance increase for counties. While we believe there needs to be some resetting of baselines there to make sure you guys can retain the talent that you have, what was proposed was really out of line and not sustainable for county government. So we opposed that. Next slide, please. So 2025 revenue sharing trust fund, I'm sure you've heard of that ad nauseum from us as we communicated that last year. We did have legislation that passed out of the House 106-4. Couldn't get any movement on that legislation out of the Senate. I don't know if it's been quite reintroduced yet, but it will be introduced shortly, and we'll be working on that again. Reforming and Sick Time Act, that's already been enacted. Local governments for veterans property tax exemption, something we talked about for a while, having no impact on the disabled veteran, but having the state once again reimburse us for something they want to vote on at the state level. So we've been working on that for a while. Funding for state courts, I talked about trial court funding. We'll go into that a little bit more, and then road funding, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Next slide, please. So what is Lansing's makeup right now? So the Republicans control the House 58-52. The Democrats have a 1-person lead right now in the Senate. There still is an open seat there. We're waiting to hear when that special election will occur. The House did eliminate the local government committee. What does that mean for us? That just means our bills get a little more spread out, a little more education for us and our staff. When bills are moving around to different committees, typically we would go to one committee. Now we go to a lot of different committees. And House rulemaking restricts budget earmarks, and that's going to come into the road funding plan. There was, if you were going to do a specific earmark for a specific entity, whether a nonprofit, a county, or any business, you had to have it in by a certain date, which that date has passed. I believe was the end of April, and So no longer will you see this kind of deal making during the budgetary process. This does not apply to revenue sharing or anything that's normally appropriated through the process. These would be specific earmarks. You can go to the next slide, please. So road funding. So the road funding plan that has now been passed out of the House and sits in the Senate. What does it mean for counties? It's about $1 billion for counties, and it's the variety of ways they're getting there. They're getting rid of the sales tax on gasoline and moving that to a fuel tax. So that fuel tax would go up, sales tax goes away. What does that mean to the person pumping gas? There's no change, no net change. What does it mean for the state budget? Well, you're taking sales tax dollars out of the general fund. We have some concerns about that because we're funded out of the general fund for statutory revenue sharing. We're willing to shift that, put that aside for now, and we'll fight that fight later if we can get a road funding package done that mirrors this. There's a shift in the corporate income tax. I talked a little bit about the general fund. We are still waiting to see Governor Whitmer's plan to see. She's been talking about fixing the roads, of course. What does her plan look like compared to this? When they talk about it, there are some similarities that they've talked about. What the specifics are yet to be seen on that. You can go to the next slide, please. Indigent defense expansion. This would increase membership of the Indigent Defense from 18 to 19 members on that Indigent Defense Commission. Some concerns about that, also concerns about the disbursement model going from 3 to 4 payments. If that's you're gonna have to fund that and then you'll get paid back after a certain amount of time. Obviously, if we're making more payments, there's more lag time, things like that we're working on staying on top of. You can go to the next slide, please. So public safety fund, this is something that was talked about last session, been reintroduced and has some bipartisan support. This would be about $115 million for the fund. It would come out of the sales tax. So again, we're putting a little more pressure on that sales tax, that general fund. The first 75 million, you can kind of see how that is distributed. That's primarily for CBTs. But counties would get some of that as well if they are performing services for those CBTs. So if you have a township that contracts with your sheriff's department for road patrol or anything like that, that money would come to your county sheriff's department. There's that, and then there's another $40 million that would go directly to counties. So that 40 million is for your county sheriff's department. And that the difference between the two funds there is the 40 million for counties is a little bit broader. There's more ways that those funds can be spent. A little different for the CBT. That has been passed out of the House now and sits in the Senate as well. But both parties have voiced support for this fund. Next slide, please. Earned Sick Time Act. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that since it has been enacted. I would expect to see some cleanup bills for some of the changes that have occurred. Not sure time frame on that, but I would expect some legislation for some cleanup on that. Next slide. So it looks like we took out a couple slides in there. So trial court funding, I mentioned that in my highlights. So right now there are about, I think, 4 or 5 work groups working on the trial court funding and how courts are funded. What sort of software systems should we be using? Where should those funds be distributed? So those, you saw the sunset date of 2026. So we're almost a year, we're getting up on close again onto a year sunset. We've pushed that sunset date out a few times for those fees to continue to be charged for those who use the system. So there are some concerns. So we want to get those changes enacted sooner rather than later once they're introduced, if they mirror the trial court funding recommendations. We believe once we get into 2026, basically everyone's on the ballot in 2026 except county commissioners. So not a lot's going to get done in Lansing. So we're going to be working hard to enact some of those or get something moving on those bills sooner rather than later. I talked a little bit about the budget. We are in budget season right now. You're going to start to see budgets being passed out of committees. You saw some last week. General government budget out of the Senate was passed out. It had a 10% increase for county revenue sharing based on that inverse property tax model. It's not a flat increase, so it'd be based on kind of the model they used last year for a portion of that revenue sharing. So that was a significant increase in county revenue sharing that we're excited about. So here are policy committees. I know Commissioner Sarkella sits on one of our committees. If any of you would like to participate, let us know. You don't have to come to Lansing. You can participate remotely. Many folks do that. Most folks do that, actually. And it's quite easy to do. Next slide, please. We do have a PAC. We have a smaller PAC. We primarily use it to support those 26 former county commissioners that are in the legislature now. Many of them are in leadership positions, which is good to have. So if you would like to donate, you can go to micounties.org and donate. Next slide, please. These are some of the services we provide. You guys participate in our workers' compensation fund, very strong fund, been around for a while, provides very good loss prevention tools, also dividends if you control your losses, which is great to have. One of our newer programs is SAVI, which is a student loan forgiveness program, kind of a turbo tax for student loan forgiveness that some counties are taking advantage of to offer as an employee benefit for their employees. So if there's any information about any of those you'd like to hear further about, please let me know and I can reach out separately on that. Next slide, please. And then these are our communication tools. So, we've got all the social media stuff out there. Hopefully you're getting our weekly updates, our printed newsletter every other month. We do a podcast once a week. We try to stay consistent with. So try to give you enough information that we're not overwhelming you, but arming you and keeping you informed as much as possible. So I think that's all the slides. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Steve? Steve, I can tell you that the magazine we get and the information we get from MAC is highly valuable. And many times, and I'm sure Nathan could attest to this too, we find valuable information that we can actually implement into our processes or find out things that we weren't informed about. So thank you very much for your advocacy in Lansing and what you guys do for us counties.
Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate the St. County support of our organization over many, many years. And at any time it can be helpful, let us know.
Very good.
Steve, one question, going back, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, when Patrick took over as governor, there was a gas tax added to fix the roads. Whatever happened to that?
They ended up doing a bond for a lot of that funding back then, and that was only for state roads. None of that money came to local roads. So this new plan pretty much funnels all that, the new gas tax or the elimination of the sales tax and increasing gas tax all to local roads. So if you look at the formula, that road funding, PA 51, it's the bottom 3 components, which is mostly locals.
So that increase back then was used for state roads?
Yeah, that was state roads.
Okay.
Yeah, not roads. Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate the fact that I know you've had turnover on staffing. And by all means, let the current staff know that they didn't miss a beat.
Thank you.
Everything kept moving along. All the information we get, the committee I sit on, they just keep moving things forward. So Dean and everybody else does a really, really good job.
I will pass that along. Thanks for the information. Thank you.
I appreciate the weekly updates, and I've started here a while back sharing those with my townships,
Oh, great.
and they appreciate that information. It doesn't all pertain to it. Well, it does indirectly, but some directly with them. So
Well, we'll be careful what we say about townships.
there you go.
Yeah, don't step on MTA's toes.
Yeah. And I know a lot of the townships, they use that magazine. I see them at their meetings and stuff, and they're looking and quoting stuff from it.
Yeah, it's funny. We've done it for, I think we've gone back to printed about 2-3 years now, but it's been, with everyone going digital, going back to something printed, it's been very popular. We get a lot of positive feedback on it.
Very good. Anything further for Steve?
Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have our very own Bryant Wilkie, St. County Health Officer, here to give us the medical examiner's report.
Well, yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to come in and represent the medical examiner. And I don't think this was in your packet. So let me give you a copy really quick. And I'll go through it just page by page. I know Gary loves color on graphs, so I made sure it was in color today.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. Always colorblind.
You won't need your crayons now.
How did I get in this conversation?
For today's pick up Gary.
Our presentation, I think I learned a good lesson today. Next time I will put it on the PowerPoint so that the audience can see it. But thank you again for allowing me to come in and talk a little bit about what's happening in the medical examiners area. It's a mandated program, of course, for our county, and talking with Nathan, I always think it's important for us to come before you, let you know what's happening in our community, what we're doing as an office, and supplying, supporting those things that our community needs and those services. I'm going to skip over the introduction, but real quick, I'm going to get back to it actually. But the second page in the packet, I just want you to know it takes a team to get all this work that we do out there. From our medical examiner himself, and then our medical examiner secretary, and all those individuals that do medical exams, team investigations in the community. We got to, just proud of what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how professional we can get the job done for our community. And then the support that we get not only from the sheriff's department, but the Genesee County medical examiner as well for our autopsies and those things. Just going through some of the statistics just to share with you, it was pretty usual year, a little down on actual caseload. We hit 72, and what we offer to you in this report is a 5-year review or snapshot, so you can actually see what happened over these. So you can see that we kind of dropped in our cases this year, which can be good, that type of thing. Cremation permits, however, slightly up. Just more people are opting for that type of burial. Autopsies were down. Interesting enough, this happens once in a while, but you can compare, it's equal to what we saw in 2019. So a lot of autopsies happened in between now, but we only have 12 autopsies completed for our services. Child death reviews a bit up because back in 2021, a new rule came out. If we do have a resident that passes away, a child outside of our jurisdiction, so say a child passes at Covenant in Saginaw, we were not prior to 21 doing child death reviews, but we are now required to do that. So any child outside our jurisdiction that passes, we are doing this reviews.
That was a county resident, right?
Yes.
A child that was a county resident.
County resident outside of the jurisdiction, so. Let's see, just manner. Suicides are down by half, still in the male category. I know that was 8 last year, it's down to 4. I like to think some of the prevention programs and things that we're doing through public health and other social programs are working, like man therapies out there now. It's really advertised hard. We have over 3,700 hits on our website for man therapy. So I put 2 and 2 together anecdotally. I think something's happening out there to help prevent suicides. That's good, right? So we keep education and pushing that out, and we're seeing the numbers starting to drop. At least anecdotally, I can say that. Age is still up there for some reason. It's just the older population in the suicide area that's been taking their lives. So only 4 though, but that's 4 lives that we lost. Homicide 0, when I read that, I thought, okay, that's rural area, no homicides, but it does say something about our community. It's safe. It really does. And we can advertise it. We can use that to our advantage to say, come back to our community and work for us. And look what kind of environment we have for you to live in. So that's a good statistics. The other one was, of course, deaths by overdose. We had no overdose deaths last year in 24, and in 23 we had 4. Not a big number, but no overdoses. So again, anecdotally, I want to say with the prevention programs that we have out there, the jail reentry program that we have out there, and of course, Narcan has been saving a lot of lives.
And there's been a big push to increase the availability of Narcan in the community.
Huge, a lot of education going out there with Narcan. We will supply you with Narcan if you need it. A lot of programs like that happen. So that's a good thing.
Ryan?
Yes.
Do resident deaths out of county count? Are they counted now? They didn't used to be, did they?
They're not part of our statistics in this report.
Right.
No, I would say no, we're not.
Unfortunately, it does
Yeah,
happen.
you're right, because you have outside our jurisdiction, it becomes accurate, statistic. One of the most significant things that we did over the last year, we had the opportunity, working with Genesee County to put our reporting system, our actual investigations in the field on electronic medical record. And so we spent over 6-8 months working with Genesee County and all our MESIs to be able to do the reports on a cell phone. And what that has done is it's really nice because now we're part of the Epic system. So most of the hospitals in Michigan use Epic. And Epic is just an EMR or electronic medical record. So this gives us a few advantages. Number one, as an MESI in the field, I now have a platform where I can go through step by step and input my information in this investigation. The other key to that was photographs are now taken by a cell phone, whether it's personal or a company phone, but it's automatically downloaded in the cloud through this app, and it doesn't touch my personal part of my phone. So that used to be a problem.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're doing an investigation, it actually walks you through those steps and information that we need, and we can actually, in that report, say to the MESI, no, you got to fill this out. You can't go to the next step until you do this. So it kind of helps us train people as well. The other thing it allows is all that information is dumped into the EPIC system, which is a medical record that most of our hospitals use. So now our ME, when he goes to review the field report, can match any report of that individual up to their medical record and help him make a decision what the cause of death was. To me, no pun intended, but it's epic for us because we've been wanting to go to electronic medical records with the MESIs and the medical examiner's office for some time. And this is really important, no cost to us. And we were able to do that because we have a partnership with Genesee County. And so we're excited about that. That's in place now. We implement it. We trained everybody, and it's rolling, and it's working really well. That's it. Any questions?
Any questions for Brian?
Appreciate your effort with that.
Yeah.
Brian, one question, if you don't mind. Would you kind of explain the relationship with both the MESI and when I guess they involve the medical examiner, I guess?
Sure. So as you can see, we have several MESIs, and they're really the boots on the ground individuals for the medical examiner. There's no way that in our small community, we don't have a full-time medical examiner, it's part-time. So the MESIs are usually under contract, or we have an agreement with the jail sheriff's office, excuse me. They're kind of the boots on the ground. So when there's a suspicious case or death, and they're dispatched by our county 911 to go into a medical exam. Medical examiner scene investigation. And they determine, okay, what was the cause of death, whether it's happening at this scene. There is sometimes communications from that individual to the medical examiner by phone, sometimes not, depends on what the situation is. But they're really the boots on the ground. Now, the law allows us to do that, so we have people throughout the community that can go out and do these things to investigate these situations and incidences. One of the rules of the law, though, with being the child up, the enemy has to go. So that's something that he's ready and available to do. And when it happens, we do send him out. But the connection there is they're the ones actually out in the scene doing the investigation, determining what happened, gathering evidence if necessary, getting contacts, doing interviews, and then putting that all into a report so that the medical examiner can review that release process of instituting the death certificate or cause of death. A lot of team members working to get the job done. That's really what I'm emphasizing today, because that's where the work gets done from all our staffing and those individuals in the field doing the work. You know, my work is making sure you guys get a report and it looks right and troubleshooting things when we have issues, but it's really the field people that get the real work.
Well, Brian, I certainly appreciate you bringing this report to us. There was a lot of really good information in here, and I think you actually did a great job in your presentation of pointing out we do have a safe community and that this is a great resource for us to be able to prove that. So thank you again for this.
You're welcome.
Very good. We'll look forward to another one of these next year, I hope.
Absolutely. We'll want to continue it. And I think I'm back in a couple of weeks to give the public health report, which I'm more familiar with. So
All right.
I look forward to
We'll look
that.
forward to seeing you again. Always a pleasure to have you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's going to conclude presentations today. I see no need for 13A, 13B, or 14. So, and there are no general resolutions. We're going to move into committee reports, and we're going to start with Commissioner Moody.
On the 22nd, I had the Central Dispatch Advisory Board meeting. We discussed the emergency modem fix that we're going to be discussing later this afternoon. We talked, and Dawn gave a final budget summary for 2024. On the 24th, I had the Thumb Regional Community Corrections Advisory Board meeting in Lapeer. Things are going really good there. We're gonna have to ask the state for a little extra money if there's any available for some of the programs that they're doing, but because they're getting filled up and running out of money. Then the 28th, I had the Medical Care Facility MDHHS Board. They're reviewing policies, and they went over their employee benefit, new insurance rates and plans and stuff. That's about it.
Okay, thank you, John. At a personnel meeting this morning, we reviewed a few things in that. And then also, I have collected all the Nathan's evaluation forms from all the commissioners, and Gary and I have a personnel meeting scheduled for in 2 weeks. And then we'll compile those results and bring that forward to the full board. That's all I have. Christine.
Council on Aging, the senior fair is June 27th between 10:30 to 1:30 at Sandusky High School. We've been getting a copy of the different menus at the senior centers that for food, what they serve. And there's a different menu for each of the centers, Marlette, Sandusky, and Lexington. Also, the Dare Track meet was canceled last week. And it's rescheduled for May 21st at CPS. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Bill?
Materials management plan, we met a couple weeks ago. We adopted our bylaws and started putting the plan together and discussed quorum issues because it's a really large board involving all 4 counties that are part of that. I continue to have a conflict with meetings in regards to Community Foundation. So Gary has graciously offered to step in with no arm twisting, by the way.
No.
To take my spot on the materials management plan, because we do have to have a representative as far as the commissioner is concerned. So he's gonna step in and handle that through the rest of the year. Sound like transportation, the bus fleet is complete. We have 2 more low floors coming in soon. Looking at converting to propane fuel, so that'll be a huge savings for conversion, but there's grant funding that you have to apply for that. And then, of course, you met our new director there. And we look forward to working with Jeff moving forward. Buildings and grounds met this morning, discussed health department landscaping at the building there, some potential tree removal, carpeting here at the courthouse, the monument out front, that's moving forward. Apparently they have all the funding for that. So hopefully when that monument gets done, they'll be able to install that out in front here. We're going to have to move it a little bit forward just because of their utilities that are underground. So it'll be a little bit off from the other one, but it's still going to look really, really good. And then we walked through the courthouse here because we need a couple of rooms down on the main floor for attorney-client conversations and so forth. If you've ever come in, there's people sitting in the chairs conducting really personal business, and there's really no place for them to go once they come out of the courtroom. So we hope to be able to install a couple rooms there so they have some privacy. I know today when I came in the building this morning, there was 3 meetings going on down there, and you feel kind of awkward walking through their circumstances, and we don't really need to be doing that. So hopefully we can resolve that. And then lastly, last week, I get asked annually to participate in senior interviews at Carsonville Port Sanilac. So we come in all, dressed up to offer an opportunity for the students to interview like they were applying for a job. The seniors all carry a portfolio through their high school years. They present that. And sometimes you wonder, there's a few young lads that don't have a clue, but overall, these kids just impressed me. I mean, there was one that had a full ride to U of M, another one going into construction trades that works at the ISD. He's going to have a degree out of Ferris. A couple others have full-time jobs lined up, and they're just, even though sometimes you look at them and go, like, that guy doesn't have a clue, but these kids really, really do a good job. And I'm always impressed. So that's why I keep coming back. It's I've been doing it a long time because last year, one of the young lads came over to me and he said, this is now, mind you, somebody doing the interview. So he was a principal at Croslex. He comes up and he says, Mr. Sarkel, I think you did my interview. So yeah, so that's how long I've been doing it. So I said, don't tell anybody. But anyway, it is a good thing. It's a great program that they have. And I'm glad this year it said on my card, it said commissioner, because one of the youngsters said, well, what's a commissioner? So I got to give him a little spiel on what we do.
I've done that for several years at Croslex.
Have you?
Yeah, for probably 8-10 years.
Okay.
A lot of
It's
people
great.
don't know. A lot of people don't know what a commissioner does or what a commissioner is. You'd be surprised.
You know, I wowed them all. They all stopped their interviews and listened to what I had to say.
Are you worried you're gonna have a bunch of competition?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was politicking that day.
Especially when they heard the pay.
You know, yeah, that really, they were all lining up then. That's all I have for you.
Very good. I think that's great that you guys are taking a look at putting some rooms for the attorney-client thing too, because I agree with you, but when I walked in this morning, I walked through 3 attorney-client conversations that were just happening in the open, and it'd be good for them.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Appreciate you guys digging into that. Thank you for your excellent report. Gary?
Well, Commissioner Bill, I think you did a extensive good job telling what we did in the building ground meeting this morning. And also, I think there was one other thing we talked about. We're going to replace a handicap door at the health department that's not working. And then into our personnel meeting, we had with Vince, our new parts director this morning. Very good meeting. Gleaned a lot from you, and we appreciate that. And I think leaving that meeting, we expressed to you that we're extremely happy to have you, especially with your background and your knowledge of parks. And we appreciate you having, I don't know if it's the right terminology, we appreciate having you on board as a member of our county. So thank you very much. And then the last thing we talked about was animal control, going through Michigan Works to employ some people. That's if you remember, Michigan Works supplies a person for what, first 90 days. So it's a good program. So end of my report.
Thank you, Gary. Roger?
One thing I forgot to add with the city of Marlette was Thursday night, they do have a full commission meeting, and it's going to be reading of amendments to their marijuana ordinance that could potentially be taking effect depending on how the vote goes. Let's see, Thursday night, I will also be at Evergreen, hopefully, Township. On the county committees, CMH board, our board met last Tuesday. We approved all the reports of the various committees. There's some concern over federal budget cuts, how they're gonna affect the mental health community. They're not too concerned right now. They don't think it's gonna have a huge effect on them. We have a very strong mental health department. So we'll see how that goes. DTF, I haven't had a meeting, but as Christine mentioned, the drug task force track meet was moved to May 21st due to the weather. And today they have it's called the Arrive Alive Tour. And it is a simulator for accidents involving distracted, drunk, and drug driving. So I saw a short video on this. I guess it has quite an impact on the students that not only are in the simulator, but they have video screens where other participating students can watch what's going on and behind the wheel. And it's very realistic, and hopefully it'll save a few lives. It seems like this time of year, all too often there's a tragedy involving students. So they are going to Brown City tomorrow. I think they've got 5 of the 7 schools set up already, and they hope to get the other 2 set up real soon. So kudos to our director down there, Michael Warren, Lieutenant Warren, for getting that set up. Parks, Evergreen construction continues. I went up there this morning on my way here, and of course it was raining and I was a little early. Hopefully they still showed up to work today because the rain was letting off. It's getting close, but not close enough for me. I have a meeting out there tomorrow with the engineer and the contractors, and hopefully we can put a little more heat on them and get moving on this thing. Evergreen has a free fishing derby on June 7th, which is free fishing in Michigan weekend. This derby's open to all ages. It's free. They've got some sponsors that are donating, sounds like some pretty good prizes. They're giving away a bunch of rods and reels to youngsters, and a lot of stuff going on. Vince, do you know any more information on that than what I've gotten?
No, but I was gonna contact the DNR, conservation folks, just to see if there's anything else, freebies, things like that. We are providing, so.
I'm working on getting a radio spot set up with Vince and Joe and myself to get this out to the public and also introduce Vince on the radio. So I believe, I have a Michigan Works meeting on Friday That's it.
Roger, that simulator you were talking about, my daughter did that yesterday.
Did she?
Yeah, she said it was pretty effective.
Good.
The kids get in there and with the VR goggles and they're doing the driving and all their classmates are watching what they do on a TV screen. And she chose drunk driving and she was convinced she was gonna be able to get to the end, but she said a taxi pulled out in front of her at the last second. So is what it is.
She survived.
Yeah, but I do think it is smart timing on the driver's part because we all know what's coming up soon with the schools and that's prom time.
Yep.
And so it's a good message to get before the kids right now. So we commend your guys' work on that. I appreciate everyone's committee reports. We're gonna move on. I see no need for unfinished business. We're gonna move directly into new business. And today we'll start out with FA 071-25, approval of current claims.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims identified on the accounts payable report dated April 29th, 2025 for the general bank account in the amount of $197,953.85.
I have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 072-25, budget adoptions, amendments, appropriations, and transfers.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following amendments and establishes the following accounts as listed.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, supported by Commissioner Lee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 073-25, approval of master agreement, Sanilac Transportation.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the amended master agreement number 2022-0130 between the Michigan Department of Transportation, MDOT, and the Sanilac County Board of Commissioners dated October 1st, 2021, and further authorizes the board chairman sign the agreement.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 074-25, award and approval of commercial/industrial studies agreement, equalization office.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby awards and approves Jeannie Diaz the bid for the 2025 commercial industrial studies at a cost not to exceed $100 per parcel for approximately 200 parcels with funding from the equalization budget and to further authorize the board chairman sign the necessary agreement.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Moody. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 075-25, award and authorization of bid for Project Connect from the Safe Partnership Village.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby awards and authorizes Sanilac County Community Mental Health the bid for Project Connect Neighbors Helping Neighbors. The event is planned for September 25, 2025 at a cost not to exceed $15,114.38 with funding from the Safe Partnership Village Fund.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, supported by Commissioner Lee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And lastly, today we have NFA 010-25, appointment of Parks Director, Parks Commission.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby appoints Vincent McAuliffe as the Sanilac County Parks Director effective April 21st, 2025.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, supported by Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Congratulations, Vince.
Thank you.
Back to work.
Yeah. Okay, with new business completed, I'm going to call for general public comments. Are there any general public comments today? Welcome.
Marilyn Strickler, Speaker Township. I gave you some, 2 copies of summary pages for sound studies. We have been trying to protect our community for the past 3 years from the noise, health issues, environmental issues, property values, and water problems. Our prior board members tried to sneak the wind turbines in on us while COVID was going on. We went door to door telling people what the prior board members were trying to do, and we filled the hall, and the board still didn't listen. Needless to say, the voters of Speaker and Fremont Townships are clear in their message at the polls. They don't want green energy. They have recalled board members. They have voted for referendums and voted against referendums to keep our townships as they are. They want peace and quiet. That's why they live here. The turbine company's sound study said the noise from the turbines isn't a problem. One of the turbine company's experts published a paper when he was working in Canada for Intrinsic that says greater than 40 decibels causes sleep problems, annoyance, and myocardial infarction, which is a heart attack. We had 2 sound studies done, and our guy said the turbine companies cannot comply. We went to Huron County with a calibrated decibel meter. The wind was 17 miles an hour. The decibels were from 55 to 85 from the turbine, and we were parked on the road. A doctor from Fort Gratiot area went to the Shiawassee County Solar Farm, and the decibels were 94 to 95. There is nothing green or safe about green energy. We need protection from wind, solar, and battery storage. We have been attending St. Clair County Health Advisory meetings, and they are all about protecting their citizens, health, safety, and welfare. We were also at the commissioners' meeting when they voted unanimously to protect the people of St. Clair County. We were at the health board public hearing where 2 kids and their mother told about health issues living within solar farms. Headaches, ringing in their ears so loud you can't hear when someone is talking to you. Kids missing school because of headaches. I think it's time for our health board to make a stand in Sanilac County to protect us. We don't want to wait for our kids and grandkids to be affected by this green energy debacle. I hope the Sanilac County commissioners will step up for us like St. Clair County did. Time is of the essence. We need a good attorney like Mike Homier to take care of this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there any further public comment today?
Mr. Chair. Oh, I'm sorry. Just one quick comment. I heard from the sheriff and they expect to have 500 students through the simulator by the time they get done with Round City tomorrow.
Oh, well, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. My name is Mark Henward. I'm from Fremont Township. I heartily support the report from Mrs. Strickland. I was not able to attend the meeting in St. Clair County the other night, but it's pretty obvious the commissioners there were in full support. So I guess this it really would come from you to ask the health department to do an investigation, or the health department on their own could do an investigation. The situation happened in St. Clair County because the director wrote a report on the solar system and the effects on the human body and the sound assessment. So I'm here in support of that. I did have a question on the individual, and I couldn't hear very well from behind. But the individual that reported that the gas tax was going to not go to the revenue sharing or go to the sales tax anymore. If that's the case, where's our revenue sharing going to come from, if they know at this time? That was a part of that was.
He left.
He left.
Yeah, Steve left.
The person who reported on that has left,
Okay,
so.
so it's, did I hear it right that the monies that go to revenue sharing now from the sales tax, we're not going to go to revenue sharing anymore? So where's the revenue sharing going to come from? Did he indicate that?
He didn't have a clear answer for that. The way I understood what he had to say is that they were going to remove tax from gas and increase the gas tax to cover that. But if it was the 6% sales tax, that would normally go to the general fund. Well, if they do what he suggested, that would no longer be there. So there would be some money to be made up in the general fund.
Yeah, okay, because it's township like mine, 900 persons, and the revenue sharing money is a big deal for us. So, and I'm sure I'm not the only township that has that concern. Thanks for letting me be here. It's always good to see you.
Thank you. Any further public comment today? Seeing none, we are going to move on. I see no need for closed session or approval of closed session minutes, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our BOC meeting at 2:03 today.
I'll make that motion.
Support. I have a motion from Christine and support from John to adjourn at 2:03. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.